Smart automation, better business. Learn how to optimize your business with Solved.
Hey, fellow automators. I'm Aaron, one of your Claude Certified Architects here at Solved.cloud, and I'm so excited to have you with me today. We're going to be talking about how to get deterministic outputs out of Claude using JSON schemas, native structured outputs, and SDK hooks so that we can automate our businesses, optimize business processes, integrate AI, and get the reliability that we need for our sensitive data. Let's hop right into it. So as we jump right into this, we're going to be starting off talking a little bit about what it means to be deterministic versus probabilistic. So Claude, by default, is probabilistic. He's kind of like humans. If you say, what's your favorite color? You might say red or blue or yellow. But you also might have someone say, well, my favorite color is blue, but I've been thinking recently. And that's a lot more complex of an answer for us to try to parse. You see some examples of that on the right. The total is 4,210, total 4,210, or invoice total. There are lots of different ways that Claude can output what it is trying to say. And so for business processes, we want things to be reliable. We want things to be consistent. So sometimes these natural language processes aren't quite what we're looking for. Today, we're going to be focusing on three main tools to accomplish that objective. The first is using forced tool choice. That makes Claude pick a specific tool that's going to have a specific output. The second is using native structured outputs, which is a newer feature that Anthropic implemented within the last year or two. Our third option that we're going to be looking into is SDK hooks. Each of these different tools guarantees that Claude gives us the output that we want, but it looks a little different, and each has different use cases, which we'll get into as we look at each one. The first method we have to constrain Claude's outputs is tool choice. And tool choice is the setting that decides what tools Claude can use. By default, it operates a lot like type auto that we see at the top. So Claude will be given a prompt. It'll look through those instructions. It'll say, I think I need to use a web search tool. I think I need to query a database, whatever it is, and it'll just decide on its own. Another option is type any, where Claude can still choose whatever tool it wants, but it will use a tool whenever it's in this mode. It doesn't have the option of not using a tool. The one that we're going to be the most interested in today for our purposes is type tool name X, or forced tool choice. So this is going to make Claude call one specific tool, and that way we know exactly what Claude is going to do in response to our prompt. The final option that we have is type equals none. In this case, Claude just won't use anything, and it will always give a text response. Diving a little deeper into forced tool choice, we can see here a little code snippet that includes it. So we see tool choice equals, and it says type tool, and it names the specific tool. And whenever we have this, Claude isn't going to do any natural language processing on our prompt. It's just going to hand it directly into the tool, and then it'll just get the response right back, and that's what it's going to give us as its output. As we look at that a little closer, we can set input schema on the tool to constrain Claude to only give very specifically the values that we gave to this tool. And so in this example, we can see our input schema, and it says type object and properties and invoice number. It says we want our invoice number specifically as a string, and we want our total USD, we want line items, and we're listing through all of the different things we want Claude to give it. And we're saying which fields are required for Claude to give it, so it can't miss required fields anymore. It has to give them before it can even call the tool in the first place. A new feature that Anthropic recently released is native structured outputs. For our forced tool choice example that we just did, it specifically applies to tools that Claude might call. So it's really useful for if you have a data abstraction tool or extraction tool from a database or something like that, where you know that you're going to be calling it frequently. It's useful to put the schema in there so whenever you call the tool, it just automatically gives the right answer. Native structured outputs looks a little different. It's not tool dependent. It's within an output config file, and it will give us these JSON schemas regardless of what tools get used. A pretty cool functionality, and this applies to both our native structured outputs and to our forced tool use, is adding strict. And when we do strict, we're forcing Claude to only give specific outputs. So JSON will set up the boxes that we need to put things in. So we might say, I need a box for US dollars, or I need a box for color of box, or something like that. With strict, we're only allowing Claude to fill in that box with very specific information. We're removing things outside of that data set we give it from even being options to put into the box. So there's definitely a lot there, but breaking it down a little simpler, we use tool use forced when we have a tool that we're going to be using frequently and we need a specific output from that tool. We use output config if we might not be using a tool. It's a little simpler. It'll just give us that same JSON schema, that same layout of how Claude will respond to us. We use strict as true when we need the answers to be case sensitive, to fit a very specific output format so that further tools can use them. That would be the difference between Claude returning has power false with a lowercase f and has power false with an uppercase f. That might trip up a downstream system, so we just want to make sure that we're only giving it the ability to put in the correct format in the answer itself. Now that we've discussed how to set up JSON schemas to get the right boxes for Claude to put information into and started looking at how to make sure that information is input correctly using our strict setting, we can look at some further ways to harden our process so that the information Claude passes on to the next step in the process is accurate. A really useful tool for this is adding nullable. We can see on the right that we just added as an option null. For me, an example that helps me think of why this would be useful, if Claude was reading the brand and of different shoes, you might see Nike, Adidas, Puma. But what happens if a Chinese knockoff shoe without a brand gets scanned in? Claude might not know what to put, and so we want to make sure that Claude doesn't need to invent information or try to make something up or be forced to input something. So by adding a null value, Claude can be accurate and consistent. While we're looking at data hardening techniques, another really useful one is adding an other section to enumerations. So when we have an enumeration, we might have a list of different options that Claude could choose from. So we might have Honda, Toyota, Hyundai, Kia, just different options that Claude is expecting. Sometimes though, we'll get an input to Claude that it really isn't expecting and isn't included in our enumeration. So if a Bugatti came through Claude's database, it would be really confused and not know where to put that. But if we added an other section, we can see in our code snippet to the right, we have other and then doc type other detail. And then we set it up so that it can put in a string. This makes it so that when Claude sees something outside the ordinary, it can just notate that in a string and it'll say, hey, this is a Bugatti. That's not on my standard list. And we'll still have a structured way for Claude to output what it's found and for downstream processes to read the data that it's got. We'll also want to make sure we add additional properties false onto all the objects that we do this with. Otherwise, there's a chance that Claude will try to add additional fields or mess up our JSON schema. So this just helps keep things really clean. We have another section, we have something to list out what that other section means, and then Claude doesn't add any details that we don't need past that. Our final piece of making sure we get deterministic outputs from Claude is realizing even if we have a perfect schema, we have all of our boxes set up correctly, and we have a perfect hardening where we have our other section and nullable, and all these different options, that doesn't necessarily mean that the information will be correct. It might be great JSON, it might be very readable by downstream systems, but that doesn't mean that it's right. And so a really useful way to ensure accuracy is using validate and then retry with feedback. And so this is a really simple example we're looking at on the right. So we have line items and a total. And so we have our validator function, and it goes through and it looks, it says, okay, our line item was $5, $5, $5. I'm expecting the total should be $15, but for some reason the total was $17. It says, somewhere Claude messed up. And so it gives that feedback that it says, hey, the totals did not sum, and then it'll call Claude again to double check and see maybe it missed a field, maybe it didn't read something correctly. And that's a great way to have an independent review process where Claude is double checking its work when something just doesn't quite line up semantically with our data. an important note for this, when we're doing this retry pattern, there are times that it's useful and there are times that it just really isn't. If we have totals that don't sum and we can recheck the math, that's a great use case. If we have something just got put into the wrong field, like it's in the wrong part of our JSON schema, that's something else that we can check pretty quickly. Or if there's some formatting issues or anything like that, we can always look through and double check those. If information is not in the source Claude is looking from, no matter how much you try, Claude's just always going to be wrong. There's no way for it to correct the information that it has because it just doesn't have any information to run off of. Additionally, contradictory sources can lead to some problems. So if we have one source claims that something weighs 5 pounds, another source claims something weighs 7 pounds, Claude will do its best to take a good guess between those two. But the best way to handle that is adding a conflict detected flag. And then we can file that to human review, or we can have some logic that handles that in the background. And so just a note there that if we're retrying, we want to make sure that we're basing it off of clear and accurate data, or else Claude's not going to have anything to go off of. A final level of enforcement for Claude is hooks. We love hooks. Hooks are very useful. So we have pre-tool hooks and post-tool hooks. Pre-tool hook forces a specific step to have been taken or a specific variable to be set before Claude can even access a tool. So in this case, we have, if the amount of this refund is greater than $500, Claude just isn't even allowed to process it. It won't be able to use the tool at all. Claude will get this response message we've got over here of permission decision deny. And then ideally, we want to have a permission decision reason. And this is to Claude. It's a message to Claude telling Claude what to do if this fails. So it can be tempting to say permission decision reason, try again, or something like that. But that's not very useful for Claude. Or if we give it a vague amount needs to be under 500, Claude might try to change the amount. It doesn't know exactly what to do. But if we tell it amount too large, escalate to user for review, Claude knows exactly what step it needs to take. It needs to give this case back to a user so they can decide what to do with it. And so that's really useful with pre-tool hooks, is that it just blocks a tool from being used in the first place. A post-tool hook, which is another main category that we're going to look at, and there's some other hooks that we could explore. A post-tool hook formats the data that we're getting out of a tool. And so it makes sure that we got valid outputs, it makes sure it's in the right schema, different things like that, so that we know it won't break down the process. Those are pretty similar to native structured outputs. They're fulfilling a similar role. And so that's just something to be aware of. The nice thing about both of these hooks, though, is that they are 100% guaranteed to work. If we tell Claude, don't give refunds over $500, it's probabilistic, like we've mentioned. Sometimes it'll get that, sometimes it'll forget that. Maybe the context window got blocked. There are ways that Claude can miss or get around that. But if we have it built into the code itself, Claude cannot go past that boundary, which is super useful for valuable or sensitive data like financials or security information. Ultimately, at the conclusion of all these different methods that we've talked about of JSON schemas, native structured outputs, pre and post tool hooks, the most important lesson to take away from everything is to move our guarantees out of prompts and into schemas and code. Schemas and code can be enforced. There are things that we can have be 100% consistent, and there are ways that we can validate them and we can double check them. We can add nullable, we can add other options, whereas prompts, there is no guarantee. We can get pretty good. We can do multi-shot prompting and lots of different techniques, but we love having code and schemas for sensitive data. With that, thank you all so much for tuning in. This was a quick overview of all of the different ways that we can constrain Claude and make sure we get deterministic outputs out of its responses. Feel free to contact us here at solve.cloud for additional information or consultation about how you can automate your business. Remember to like and subscribe, and check out our website in the comments and description below. Thanks.
Thank you so much for watching. We can't wait to help you automate your business. Please like, comment, or subscribe for more.